You're listening to Weeknight Wizards.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Weeknight Wizards. I am your friendly neighborhood game master, Michael. We are continuing our prep for our upcoming 13th Age campaign. We're doing a little experimental world building together using the 13th Age Book of Ages Age Engine, I believe it's called. A little modified, trying to put some more things together. If you were joining us last time, we were kind of doing a lot of sticky notes, a lot of brainstorming, throwing a lot of ideas out there. We talked about things like having warring factions, sort of akin to like the Avatar: The Last Airbender. We talked about things like interested in being in like biomes that are like sky islands and mountains and tundras, ice caverns, sort of frozen deserts kind of concepts. We like the idea of high fantasy mage punk, and talking about some things like planes colliding, everything like that. Before we get too far into it today, which we're going to be getting more into the icons of this world that our wonderful players have come up with, I'd like just to first introduce our players naturally with a player question that I have definitely prepared before this exact moment, because I've had all Memorial Day weekend to do so, and I'm not vamping for time while I think of a question. And that question, I'm lying. I have no question for you. I think maybe what I have on the brain right now is that my dad is watching Game of Thrones for the first time, and he just got to a very pivotal moment where he's learned the lineage of a certain bastard in the franchise. Yeah,
That
happens a couple of times, actually.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, the last big bastard reveal.
Okay,
in
sure.
the
last big bastard.
You're a bit of a big bastard.
And so I guess I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to know what people's like favorite twists in media is, but I feel like that's like could be really really triggering as like spoilers. Is that?
Well, I
Is
think
that a
we can reference it without saying what it is.
Without spoiling it, tell us your favorite spoilers.
Twist.
Cryptically tell us your favorite twist and who you are.
This has existed for a long time, but when I read Game of Thrones, I truly had to reread the Red Wedding like a second time, because the way that the scene develops caught me completely by surprise, and like I literally was like threw my book across the room and was like, "What?" Like I out loud was like angry, and then I was like, "Wait, hold on, I must have misread something." I went back, so that always stands to me as like a pretty, because that happens very rarely in books for me, because there's so much lead in and stuff, and I feel like things get like not telegraphed, but like.
Well, he was telegraphing the exact opposite stuff. It's like, yeah, here's your heroic character. Who's
So I don't know. I thought that was pretty well done. And then I think like many people, it, but the first time probably that you play BioShock, it's still a cool experience to have.
I was probably gonna want to be my, or it might have been one of mine. It's totally fine. No, the BioShock twist is extremely.
It's existed forever at this point. But yeah,
have you? Did you say who you are?
No, I don't intend to.
Okay, mystery player.
I'm Gregory.
Who could it be?
Twist. It was Joe all along.
Conveniently, we do have our names that pop up with our dice light up.
But... That is convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's convenient.
Well, I can go next. My name is Joe. I mean, it's got to be One Piece, right? Like,
does it have to be?
It does.
Okay.
There's the author right now is taking like 3 weeks off in between every single chapter, and then every 3 weeks he drops a banger of a twist.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, he
So
needs
it's
that
gotta
time.
be. Yeah, that's it.
I'm really happy that I know what the One Piece is.
Cerveza, Cristal.
That's
Honestly.
not it. That's pretty close.
Pretty close.
Hi everyone, I'm Anthony. I have a few. You saying BioShock reminded me of BioWare, and Knights of the Old Republic 1 has an excellent. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that is a very good twist.
I really enjoyed Attack on Titan. That one. And there's a
Actually,
third
I
one.
never watched Attack on Titan, but I assume that the twist is that they were the Titans all along.
I can't say.
The real monsters were the friends they made along the way.
I mean,
Wow, Michael, how media literate are you?
I had a third one that was also one of my favorites. I don't remember what it is.
The Jurassic Park was the friends we made along the way.
the Jurassic Park was the One Piece we craved all the way.
Yeah.
Not to keep plugging my own work, but I'm a really big fan of the twist that I have in my own book.
Hey,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's really good.
Why don't you? We should plug your book at the end of every.
Well, it's not out yet.
Well, they can't buy it
that's
yet.
true. Never
You can't
mind.
buy it.
Once it is.
I'm not
Yeah,
aware.
that's what makes it desirable. Is that it's unattainable.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to build the hype.
Subscribe on Patreon to get a chapter early.
Oh,
Hey.
sorry. One more I have to put out there. If anybody has ever seen the film Old Boy, the
Yes.
Korean
I've seen both versions.
drama thriller, that is a pretty spectacular twist. Like at the end, that's like up there in terms of did not see that coming, and also what the hell? It's
Mostly what the hell. Yeah, but you're correct. It could not and would not see that coming if I could
No.
choose to. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, these are all pretty good media. I mean, I feel like I don't know if this is good audio content because we're just saying that had a good twist, which is probably not very interesting.
You know.
I will say, yeah, BioWare games definitely do a good job. But funny enough, I feel like my favorite game, BioWare game, that's a twist, is actually Jade Empire, and I don't know. I mean, it's one of the things where it felt very formative at the time when I was like 12 or whatever playing it. It's interesting. It's like it's much less known. It never franchised out, but it's a martial arts game set in like sort of a fantastical China sort of equivalent. But the twist in that game, I really really blew me away as like a kid, because it was. I think maybe it could have partially just been like I wasn't as familiar with like tropes of martial arts films, but it just felt like it was like laid super well the whole time, like everything leading up to it, and like they were doing it. I was like, oh, this is what makes your character special, and it's also like a horrifying realization like 3/4 of the way to that game. But I really enjoyed that one.
I just Googled Jade Empire twist. The top article: Jade Empire, best plot twist ever.
Oh,
The
shit.
second
Wow.
article, or the second hit on Google. Jade Empire emphasizes a big twist that, in practice, falls kind of flat.
That's probably more accurate. That's probably more accurate. But 12-year-old Michael was impressed, so
You'll have to
I'd
tell
say-
me later what it is,
Yeah.
because I don't want to Google it.
I'd say the game's worth playing, but I actually don't know if that's true, because mechanically it wasn't the greatest, and the fact that it never franchised out means it probably wasn't as popular with other people. But I enjoyed it a lot. That's one I really liked. Cool. Well, thank you everyone for introducing yourselves. The way I like to kind of structure tonight is we kind of did a lot of like throwing a lot of ideas out there for the world, and I gave you all homework to kind of design an icon or 2 or 3. It seems, I think you've all made different numbers of icons, but that's fine. The idea is I'd want you all to just kind of go turn by turn, describe the icon you've made. You can mention their faction, but generally I kind of want you to talk through like the concept of the icon, how you see them fitting in the world, and yeah, like sort of what their overarching goals are. We have let's see, what do we have here? We have their. I have to get back to
What is the stream viewing right now? Are you seeing our Google Sheet?
I think
or
the
are you seeing
Miro.
The Miro.
Okay,
which is probably
that's
the
probably
best.
the more visually interesting thing.
I was gonna
too.
pull up the sheet when we wanted to, but
Yeah. So I mean, we have a longer form thing on the Google Sheet where we talked about the icon's goals, their reputations, allies, enemies, a brief history. I think maybe for this, like, just for introducing it, I think introduce the icon idea, like maybe a high level concept, like a couple sentences that you'd use to like describe them. Maybe sort of like your imagined sort of history of them in the world, I think is more useful. And maybe at least like one major goal. And this always happens. I have one alarm go off in the middle of the stream, and I'll never learn from my mistakes, and I refuse to.
You know it's time to start.
Time to start the stream. Welcome to the stream, everyone. It's finally happening. Let's go around and talk about our favorite franchise twists.
it's time to wake
Michael's
up. It's
iPhone going off?
It's 8 p.m. Time to wake up.
Yeah. Been a dream the whole time. Yes. So, would anyone particularly like to start?
I should probably start
Anthony,
because I made the
should
most
start.
icons.
You made the most icons, so I think.
Are
that
we
was
gonna
useful.
do one icon at a time? Like, so
We could
it's
do
not-
round robin style. That we could do that.
That's why I volunteered.
Sure. So let's go round
You said
robin
you could
style.
Go around.
Well, I was gonna think is like, oh, here are my icons. But yeah, I think it'll probably be better for everyone's involvement if we round robin it.
Go around. Round bird. What bird is round? A robin. Round robin. Let's do round robin.
Robin, they steal time with vamping.
But wait.
Vampire bird. Vampire bat. Okay. Yes, Anthony, please tell us about your first icon.
I will start with my last icon
Oh,
that
shit.
I made, which is one that we all kind of collectively made a little bit, which is the iridescent. I imagine this to be an evil icon. They are the leader of the race of changelings that we created, which I named the Moraga. And the idea is that these changelings entered this plane through the same means that the elves did, and the iridescent is the most powerful of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so their goal is to infiltrate, to gain control, but also to gather their relatively scattered peoples. You can imagine with a group of changelings, it's hard to
keep track of everyone.
They don't have a census for changelings.
Weird.
Yeah.
Cool. No, I think the
Are you looking
iridescent.
for more
I like-
than that?
I feel like that's useful, right? I mean, let's like go around. Let's get everyone on the table, and then I think it's probably better than to start talking about like, oh, like say like who we're kind of gravitating towards, or like maybe how we see them connecting with each other. Because I know you always kind of had the ideas of like allies and enemies. So let's just get everyone on the table first. I think that's a great high level.
Speaking of, do you want me to put that on the table on Miro, or
I think that would be great. I also think that feels like a lot of work that you're not going to be able to listen while you're doing that necessarily. So
I'll hold off.
Yeah, we have it written down. So
Yeah.
Don't you worry, dear listener / watcher. We're
We
on
took
it.
notes. We did our homework.
I can follow that up because
Sure.
the icon that I came up with, name to be determined, but is the exact opposite of the iridescent. It is a secret society that I think they have existed long before the iridescent actually showed up on the plane. They've just been wrong about about leaders being shapeshifters and
I love that.
controlling a cabal from the shadows. They've just been wrong.
That's kind of great, actually.
But now they're like starting to actually find, they're starting to find proof as they're, investigating.
Yeah.
And
Could that be like the Whisperer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. I was having a little trouble coming up with the name. I was trying to find the opposite of iridescent, and it's all really boring. It's like monochrome, and I'm like,
You could be. I mean, honestly, it could be something like the Great Revealer or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone like who's like the idea of someone who like believes they're
That sounds like an
The
award-winning
whistleblower.
Sexual deviant.
Great Revealer.
I mean, at some
It
point,
could be both.
the Great Revealer probably was, you know.
In a former life.
I put all that behind me
Yeah,
after I found
And
the
in
trail.
front.
I put them as chaotic good. I don't remember the 13th age.
So yeah, there's this idea of them are they is this like an immortal figure? Are they recurring? They come out through history. Are they age defining? Or are they like they're really only significant during this age? Which sounds like they might be gaining more traction. So that
Yeah,
they
I
might
think
be only
they're
really valuable.
they're age defining. So like they've existed for a long time, but like they have like they've just been kind of like
Their influences in this
club.
moment, it sounds
Right.
like.
Yeah, they've been a social club for a long time, basically, and now they're like, oh, this is actually happening. Like, I feel like as it's kind of gone on, like they definitely have members that are like, you know, they're there for the pizza. You know,
Right.
like,
Yeah, my great grandfather was a revealer.
yeah, exactly. But now they're like, oh shit, it's actually happening.
They're actually ill prepared. I like
Yeah.
that. Cool. So their goal is to like reveal the cabal that controls society.
Yes.
Okay, so very disruptive force. Cool. I like that. Anything else you'd like to share? Or that
I had this idea that they're like the followers would be called like the marked ones or something, where there would be like a bishop level person who like gives you like a hidden tattoo on your body, so that not even you know what it is.
Oh,
Interesting.
So that like if someone, you know, takes over your form, you know, there's like people in the organization that know what every symbol
Got
is.
I never thought about with changelings is tattoos. Never thought about that.
I mean, they could just make
Probably
them.
not a lot
reference.
about changelings.
They could just make them if they wanted to. So you know, you
Right.
gotta. That's why they're all secret. Is so that.
So what you're saying is you have to seduce your targets first and get them naked before you copy
Well,
their form.
I
Because
also-
otherwise,
That's
I also
play.
realized the gigantic plot hole of if the shapeshifter kills someone and takes their form, they just know what the symbol
Well, unless
is.
it's like a blacklight thing or something, you know, something they can't perceive.
No, I like the fact that it's they could just like there's just a giant hole in their theory. Like their security, it just doesn't make sense. But
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
if
a
that's
little-
if that's too silly. We could draw it back a little bit.
Yeah, but I like the idea of hidden society, very paranoid. I think that could work. So cool.
I might have watched
Greg.
a lot of Ancient Aliens over the weekend. So
Yes.
a little-
That's some great
In
world building
preparation.
fodder.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the energy we want to bring into a campaign.
I would say Ancient Aliens is great world building fodder, actually.
I can believe that argument.
But anyway.
yeah. So we talked a little bit about it last time. So the first one that I fleshed out was the Just Mercenary. I put that as an age-defining icon, neutral, and specifically, neutral and age-defining. The way that I thought about this as a background is the leader of this group, so the Just Mercenary, is maybe the last of the line of what used to be the fourth of the big powers of this kind of world. So if we talked about these warring states that had like their own weapons or like society or whatever, I imagine this as being the Hammers. And this person when the other three kind of grouped together to kick them out or to take over their land. Obviously, their people became stateless and became exiled, and so this is the leader of this group who's kind of come back years later as a problem, but also solution politically for these continuously warring states because they get to lean in for coin to help make sure that no one faction or no two factions get too powerful and try to gang up on the third. And so there is this continuous like bidding war for their services to hire this mercenary force. So the reason that they're so dangerous is because they don't have a home or a country or a state. There's not really anything to leverage them over. You can't like hold their royal family hostage or like say you'll take over their population because they've already done that. And so it becomes this counterweight to kind of the political situation. And then they're mainly motivated by reclaiming what they consider their lost legacy, their homeland. And maybe there's a little bit of, bitterness there in the background, but it really comes off as being like just my allegiance is to whoever is going to pay me the most. And so this means that there's kind of a unsure aspect of how many members there actually are in this group and how powerful and how rich they actually are, because if this has been decades of war, then that's potentially very, very lucrative. I put that their goals was to act as a counterweight to the power and greed of three states, to make money and become an undeniable force in the world, and to reestablish their exiled people as a legitimate state. Their reputation is blade for hire, like an expert mercenary force with no true allegiance, that they're cutthroat, paying is the only way to ensure their cooperation, and that they're fearless because they have nothing to lose. I can go to allies, enemies, and factions if we want, but I don't know how much.
Let's wait on the allies, enemies, and factions. So I think we want to get everyone on the table first because that might also tweak how you're like, oh, I see them being maybe allied with this group or whatever.
Yeah. Cool. I made all of my icons like probably a week before you guys did. Yeah. So I haven't heard of yours yet.
Yeah. So there you go.
Hey, I'll go next.
Hey.
My second one that I created was the Sky Warden, and I took the liberty of taking one of the three warring faction kingdoms, and I decided that the people in the Sky Islands were the Sword Kingdom, which I named the Skyblade Kingdom.
Sick.
I'm not married to that, but it sounded cool.
Yeah, I also think one of the things that I might suggest tweaking is we had talked about maybe like the three being an icon, which is like the three warring states. So this could be separate from that still. But yes, anyway.
Correct. And the way I've set this up, it is still kind of separate because the Sky Warden is the leader of the vampires. And the vampires were indigenous to the Sky Islands before the three warring states formed. And so they have only recently formed a tenuous treaty with the Sky Islanders. And only now the vampires have sort of come out into the public as being a reasonable faction.
I also liked we had talked about it because you were kind of envisioning it was from the Magic the Gathering set, and they were kind of like that set. If I remember what you were telling me correctly, it was very aligned with like kind of like pirates almost. Like, and I like the idea of Sky Island vampire pirates.
Here's my vision. It was the Zendikar vampires. Mm-hmm. They can fly, but they also use like grappling hooks and ropes to like bank around Sky Island and just do like cool rope trick shit. That's the faction that I want to see in the world.
Yeah.
So just Attack on Titan.
And this is their leader,
yes.
the Sky Warden.
What is their main goal?
Their main goal is to strengthen the Sky Island Kingdom, the Skyblade Kingdom, and also to unite the vampiric peoples with the warm-blooded races.
Are we doing no vampires in sunlight? Like how many vampire rules are we importing?
That's up to Michael.
Okay.
I'd have to think about it. I mean, yeah, it's interesting if they live on Sky Islands. I mean, they're very close to the sun, but they could live on the underside of them, especially if they can fly.
Yeah. When Michael and I were discussing this on the side, yes, they are like the Sky Islands are closer to the sun. They could still just come out at night like regular vampires, or because they're closer
Like
to the
regular
sun,
vampires.
that just means that they sparkle even brighter. Who knows?
Yeah, we're only importing the Twilight RPG rules for this campaign. I didn't tell you guys.
I can't wait to play baseball.
God damn. If only we could afford the licensing for Muse.
Yeah, I know. Very sad. Very cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty rad. I dig that a lot. I like a world where our dominant, like, a lot of our dominant groups are vampires, changelings, mercenaries, and conspiracy theorists. We have a hotbed of activity.
It sounds rad as hell.
It does. I really like all the ideas. Joe, did you have time to come up with the second one, or do you have this one? Okay.
I did not have any good ideas that didn't overlap with something we were already talking about. So
okay. That's totally fine. If there's any, I can let Greg and Anthony talk about their last two, but if there's other icons you'd like to just like throw in after, does that make sense?
Yeah,
okay. Greg, do you wanna add your second one?
Yeah. So I had a second one that I came up with that I thought about calling the Silent King. What I imagined is if we're talking about maybe having stratiated societies with like Sky Islands and like the Warring States, that there is an underground society.
Yeah.
And that this is the leader of that society. The thing that I was imagining is what if this was almost like a druidic people, and this is like the highest leader of that druidic people, and the reason there's kind of a, whether it's true or not is kind of in the lore of this people, but like that there are deep repositories in the core of the earth in these caverns that are where like magic comes from, or like wells of power and resources, and like they are the only ones who know how to like find and navigate because they've lived in these caverns for forever. And so they're pretty secretive, but also they're seen as being dangerous because it's like, what I was imagining, it's like, imagine being told like during the Cold War that somebody was just sitting on a ton of A-bombs and you like didn't know where they were, and like, it's like a similar kind of idea, but like they are very against people coming to try to visit them because they basically, quite rightly so, are like, you just want weapons. That's why you're coming here. And so I think it'd be interesting to have something that's like they are trying to challenge the status quo, but are they? So there's a little bit of mystery and shrouded like secrecy around it.
Old people.
Did they delve too greedily, too deep?
Nope, not this society. They know where to stop. Yeah, and so I imagined, that their main goals is just to ensure the survival of the undercity societies, to challenge the hierarchy of the surface and sky-dwelling societies, and to protect the valuable resources that dwell in the core of the earth. Yeah, and I imagine they'd probably be age-defining, although I think they could be eternal, or they could be cyclical. It kind of depends, honestly, like how the story plays out, but I think that any of those would work. Yeah. But as I imagined this one leader, I kind of thought maybe age-defining because it's the specific crux of the warring kind of factions. And then... well, I'll talk about the factions later, and the allies and stuff. But yeah, I think they probably lean good, usually. Like they are interested in the survival of people. So, yeah.
I think
that's pretty cool.
I mentioned the alignments of mine. Iridescent, evil. Skywarden, good.
Yeah, heroic.
Heroic.
Technically, heroic and villainous is how which I think is useful.
Heroic,
villainous and ambiguous.
That's right.
Technically, you could. Not by 13th Age standards, but you could.
I am
villainous and good.
Heroic, villainous, and ambiguous.
Yeah.
My last and possibly greatest icon is, of course, the Fallen Empress. Everyone's favorite bad bitch.
Yeah.
She's the leader of the elves. They came through the rift from the previous world, which I took the liberty of naming Trellisair. And she is one of the first wave of the elves that was brought to this new plane, and is hell-bent on not only establishing a home for them, but also making sure that home is large enough, whether that means creating new infrastructure or expanding their borders through any means necessary. So I have her as ambiguous and eternal. I think there's only ever been one empress. And I pledge my eternal fealty to her right now, I think is what I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, fair. Can't argue with that. Very cool. I like all these. Joe, I know that because again we've strayed a little bit. Was there anything from like ideas from last time or other ideas you have that you'd want to throw in to the milieu? It's okay if
Not really.
no. Okay.
I had some thoughts of like, if the warring states turn out to be too much of like story burden, it could be like a class system. Instead of like, so it's one kingdom with like warring classes.
Sure.
Where it's, you know, there's the swords are the royalty, the axes are the
laborers.
Yeah, the laborers, and then the
That's kind of
spears
fun.
are the like the lower class, like
Middle class.
yeah. I was thinking
Just out of reach.
this. I think this spear is such a easy.
Be
weapon
careful with what you
to
say.
use
Hey,
that-
what?
Like I would think the spears would be like the serfs, where the axes would be more.
This guy hasn't read Stormlight Archive.
No, I haven't, but I mean, what is a pitchfork but a spear? You know, like
It's actually multiple spears, technically.
that's true.
Next to each other, sort of.
Poor man's trident.
A 4-man's trident,
Whoa!
because there's 4 points on a pitchfork.
Lego pitchforks have 3, actually.
Well,
There you go.
are we made?
And
of
if you don't
Lego?
define every object in your existence by what the Lego component is, what are you even doing?
Yeah, that was just that's just like an idea I thought of like it just could be something to think about, because we are very quickly encroaching on a lot of icons.
Fire
and
Emblem
functions.
territory. Yeah. Well, that's why I thought about making them. Like kind of into
Yeah,
one.
it would be one, but then but then if it's all one icon, then like, what's the?
I also I reserve the right that again I want you all to like land on one, but I may or may not be able to include the secondary one. So the main point is come up with identify the most important players. I will so that we can kind of help develop those factions. I will then this is very helpful for me because it introduces some cool ideas, and it's like I'm like that would be cool. I want to put that in. So like I'm reserving more of that to put into this.
Sure.
And I said prior to this stream here, like I'd be cool with like Fallen Empress and Iridescent are almost certainly like icons I want to see in this. Sky Warden, if need be, like if there's too many icons, that could be just demoted to important figure.
Sure.
That doesn't have to be an icon.
An icon, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. So I think maybe at this point, it'd be nice to go around and say like who.
Do you have any icons, Michael?
No, because I didn't. I needed to reserve space to be more reactive. I didn't want to put stuff into this because it's like my work is really going to be trying to make sure everything's together. So I need to have potential like gaps to create. I'm like, I need to connect these. I need like a foil. I can put this in. So I didn't really want.
Sure.
I wasn't being lazy. This was intentional. I promise.
I would never accuse you of being lazy.
You could, and you'd be right, but not in this case. Okay, cool. So like maybe it'd be helpful to just go around and say like who you're most connected to. I mean, Anthony sounds like Fallen Empress. It's kind of your main bad bitch.
You could just get me.
Sure. Greg, what of your two or any of the ones out here, who are you kind of the most intrigued by? I think like kind of imagining having like an aligned character. You know, it could be an antagonist to them too, but it's someone who's going to help influence your.
Yeah, I felt aligned mostly with the Just Mercenary, but and had a character idea that I think would fit nicely within that. I think for me, and again, this is like, you know, if both are included, fantastic. If one is, whatever, I think they could work. I just feel like the needle that seems like it needs to be thread kind of right now from what I'm seeing in the different icons in the world is like, are we talking about a men versus men kind of warring conflict is spanning this like kind of region as like the central plot, or is there this other like new magic explosion, other race invasion kind of, and it could be both, but like I kind of feel like I'm seeing two sides, and so my two icons kind of fit those two things separately. But
no, this is something I think we were kind of running into a little bit at the last session because I was running this, or I'm like, this idea is cool. How does it fit? Because the thing we'd focus on was like Warring Kingdoms, and then actually, and similar to this, like it didn't latch onto that super well. I personally think that like the planar incursion seems very compelling. It seems like stuff that we're interested in. I love the Just Mercenaries, but that's the thing is like they matter. They have this context that requires like a backdrop of warring states. But I also think that like, you know, a tentative peace between like these sort of allied kingdoms that have a long history of war, while there's all these great upheavals, things like a planar incursion of like these different forces, potentially like a recent treaty. You can imagine like that would maybe that's kind of like, I think the next work I'm thinking of with the Anchor is like, you know, okay, like there's a tentative treaty with the three, you know, the three warring factions, and that's led them to ally with the, you know, the Sky Warden because they're concerned about the encroaching Empress, and you know, I would think all these technically could fit really neatly together.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and so I think again, like kind of Anthony's point. I also see that the Just Mercenary or the mercenary group or even the leader could also not be an icon and could be an important figure in this world in relation to like, let's say the three or something, right? And so there is room where that does not have to be an in quotes icon, which is why I designated it as being an age defining one. But that's where kind of my mind went, but I'm flexible too. So
cool. Okay, that's great. Joe,
yes.
You feel very strongly about your
It's kind of I could go either way. I like the idea of it, but like I am having trouble. Like I don't know what if I base a character on this icon, either for or against. It's a very one-note character, so I probably would not. I would not do that.
I guess what's interesting is with a group like that where it's like, okay, you know, there's society, like you could easily have a character who's like grew up and like your parents were members and you rejected it, right? And now you're grappling with like, my parents believe this crazy nonsense, however there is this new threat. That's true. And having someone who's interested in like, well, I grew up learning dogma, what is the truth, is not necessarily a one-note character.
That's true. I guess I didn't think about that. Like that angle.
But I also understand if you feel like that's not giving you the hooks that you're interested in, so that's very fair.
No, I think actually I could run with that.
Cool. Okay, that's great. And again, like I think that doesn't preclude necessarily like because I do think, assuming we still want this idea of like warring states, I am imagining a little bit like this idea of like a council of three, which is like leaders of, you know, our swords, our spears, our axes, so to speak, who have to, you know, are trying to maintain a peace to stave off these new forces in their region. But it's like still gives us, I think that's why it's going to be moving nicely into like maybe like our Anchor section. We can talk a little bit Well, I guess maybe we should talk about factions first. Is probably
Is
factions
there
and
much
allies
that
and
we need
enemies.
to talk about factions other than like what icon they are under?
Well, I did have a faction section.
Yeah.
And in the faction section, we talk about allies and enmity, which I think is good.
It seemed pretty similar to the icon.
Yeah,
worksheet.
they're very connected. So it's not necessarily.
I don't feel like we need to spend a ton of time on it.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, we all kind of talked a little bit already about them. So I think that's fair. Why don't maybe we go into the ages a little bit? So this was one the anchors. And
I did want to mention one faction.
yes.
Now that I said, let's not
Yeah,
spend
we
a lot
should
of time on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did have a faction. My faction that I created for the Iridescent was actually in opposition to the Iridescent. And that was the Brightlings, which would be a group of changelings that don't want to do government infiltration and like they just kind of want to be their own nation, separate from this sort of like conspiratorial, kind of obviously evil group, but struggling with their own identity, especially in terms of like they are changelings, they can shapeshift.
That is cool. That doesn't work with the exercise because the exercise is about fleshing out how the icon influences their will. So coming up with an antagonistic group is very neat, and I like it. It just isn't very helpful for for the exercise.
Happy to help.
That is a cool idea. I like that a lot. I appreciate you sharing that. And that's a nice thing. I'm gonna make a note of it because that's a cool side thing.
I'll go sit down now.
Go to your corner.
Or no, what is it? What is it? Understandable. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
A person group of you call them the Brightlings?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've written it down. It's in
Hell
the
yeah.
note.
That's all I need.
In my sticky note. Cool. So why don't we talk a little bit? I mean, I might just change this to the icon instead of the faction. Icon
Are we
slash faction.
back to Miro?
Back to Miro, yeah. If y'all guys want to go in and put in your name of your icon and faction that you want to develop, and I want to talk through here is the ages. So I've set it up so since there's 4 of you, 4 ages. Is Joe in there twice? Sorry, I can. Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Anyone got a name for the icon I came up with?
The Whisperer.
That's the one.
I like the Whisperer. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Out of the Great Revealer. Cool. And I will. For the exercise's sake, I'm gonna put in the Skywardens because I like me some vampires. Did you have a name for the pirates, Anthony, or for the vampire pirates? The faction.
The faction is the Bloodlines of Dusk.
It's pretty rad.
Hey everyone, I'm
Pretty
writing a
rad.
vampire novel. I'm keyed into this shit.
We're gonna cannibalize all of your ideas.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so let's maybe actually start in the 4th age because I did ask you guys how you saw your group, the faction's like current strength. So over to the left hand side, I've written our anchor point ideas. This is a part of the 13th Age Book of Ages where they talk about this concept of assessing an icon's strength through what's called an anchor point, which is sort of like the broad descriptor of how they fared across an age. They can be the zenith, with at the absolute highest point of their fortunes, a nadir, which is at absolute low point, and there's also a crossover, which could be something like they are in alliance or in a war with someone, or there's some sort of, maybe you could imagine, if you had like an elvish empire, that maybe there was a power struggle within. Like those are sort of things that are greatly shifted the history of the group. Joe, you're clicking through. I'm asking just do 4th age. to start
Oh,
with.
Anthony
You could
did
do
all of them.
Oh well.
Because
Anthony.
I have the whole history planned out.
Yeah, and this is interesting because particularly, I mean, we should talk about what the age you think it looks like. Well, let's first start the fourth age, but I do want to kind of see what you're thinking, Anthony, because technically they have a sort of separate history from the others, which
Correct.
so that's why we'll have to kind of go on. So yes, okay, great. And I don't know how I'm going to define the Skywardens yet. I think it's a crossover. It's new for them. They are. Okay, so Anthony, you have put it. You view your elven empire at the zenith. Why is this? What is this? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that they have established a strong foothold in this new plane. They have relatively concrete borders as far as outside coming in. And stocks are only going up, baby. They got the best technology in the plane.
This is interesting because I think when we had also conceptualized, and part of it was imagining them fleeing their plane. And so it's interesting the idea to paint them as a zenith of their power if they are also potentially almost like refugees from their plane. So yeah, I guess can you explain they're doing well, but maybe that's more of the third age, but
yeah, I was imagining that at this point enough have crossed over that their power in this plane has grown to a point that it could be considered in the Zenith era.
Okay. Yeah, it might be crossover just because they are still. I would think because it's like they are shifting.
Yeah, that's fine.
They're growing, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Like they're the strong side, like they're expanding, but like that would be maybe the crossover event is like gaining power in the land would be like in this new territory. I think would be potentially technically what would fit maybe with what it is. Okay, cool. We can go down. Or Joe, you have the war with the iridescent. It's a crossover event.
Yeah, it's a crossover event with the iridescent. The Whisperer and the Marked Ones finally have a real reason for existing in this age, which has not happened before.
Mm-hmm.
Which does make it a hilarious time for my character to leave the group, which I really like.
Yeah, it's actually kind of comical. Yeah, I think it's cool. And yeah, I guess we're imagining too the iridescent are coming from the same plane potentially as the Empress, right?
Yeah.
So they've infiltrated through that and expanded outward. So they're in sort of a similar territory. Gaining power in a new land. Yeah, that's very cool. Greg, you have crossover for the Just. What are you thinking with this?
Yeah, I was thinking that because we're talking about alliances, wars, partnerships, this is a group that is constantly doing that. It's a group that essentially depends on the existence of the other groups. Yeah. So I thought crossover fit. That being said, I think they're an interesting play is that we could also say it's at its zenith. If we're talking about with enough time passed, it is now at the point where it has enough backing and money where it is a state in everything except land, and that could be a problem for the world that it's in. So I think depending on what plot point we want to drag, but I imagined it more as they are still building their influence in this age, but they are very much dependent on the fact that other people are paying them, that they're in this warring faction triumvirate.
It's really interesting that you aired that way because I had thought that of all the groups that they might be in a nadir because I mean their homeland was taken from them. They are at the low point. That doesn't mean they're not powerful and dangerous.
Yeah, I mean
I guess culturally I'm wondering. Yeah.
I actually initially thought about it as a nadir. That's kind of the first thing I thought where I was they're but then it's the nadir might mark the beginning of a faction, but the thing is in this that would almost make more sense. I guess what I was
the previous session would have been nadir.
Yeah, for example, if they were at first they were a group of assassins, right? They took jobs that nobody wanted to take for hire.
Using
to
the most
get a
silent
name.
weapon, the hammer.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
But to this idea that like now it's like they are out in the open continuously, which is what keeps the balance of power. But I think we can move it around into whatever makes sense. I just imagined it at this point as being crossover.
I think that's totally fine, and I don't think there's any issue with them all being crossover. I was just, it's and it makes sense, and especially because we've
it's also
made
the fourth
this.
age, right? Yeah.
It's the fourth age, and we've made it like it is a time that's a lot of stuff shifting, and the point of this exercise was to make a lot more overlap. So of course, it makes sense that all of the groups are kind of going through, responding to some big changes. So I think that perfectly makes sense. I guess maybe can you just define? So you're thinking the crossover event for them here is?
I mean, I chose a specific moment when I was creating this that they allied themselves with the spears as in this current moment because the other two factions were going to look to overtake the spears, and so they came in to essentially cause it as a 50-50 split, right? It's a standoff. So I said that it's allyship with the spears in the face of, I guess we're talking about, there were swords and what was the other? Did we
Axes.
Axes, yeah. So allied with spears against the swords and axes.
So here's the thing though. If right now there is a tentative balance between those, do you I'm curious what you think that might look like. So it's like if there isn't if the warring groups are kind of at a tension right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a thing where like they're like the three might be turning on each other, but then there's all these other things like
Yeah. So what I'm imagining is what started as the spears what started as the swords and the axes kind of maybe saying, hey, we should do what we did to the hammers to the spears because then there'll just be two of us. That the just mercenary has come in. Now the axes and the swords are starting to nip at each other's heels because their war camps are built. And they thought they were going to go and take over more land, and now their leaders have paused that because like, we don't know if that's going to work. And so now their parties are kind of skirmishing with each other because they're all hopped up on like blood rage, getting ready to what they thought was going to be like a next big coup, and now they're being told to hold it. I think maybe their parties are skirmishing with each other internally now.
Yeah, so I like that the idea that I mean the spears might have been a little weaker and have you're drawn into both the internal conflict, but then there's also so the three kingdoms are spoiling for war with each other, but also being faced with these groups that are impinging on their borders. All this stuff. Yeah.
Where if they set aside their differences and join forces.
Lay down your arms.
Make the most powerful weapon: the spear, sword, axe, hammer.
The Beyblade.
Yeah, the Beyblade. What is their tagline? Let's rip one. Let's get ready.
Let it rip.
Let it rip. Okay.
Rip it. Yeah, something like that.
Pop it. Pull it.
Twist it.
Yeah. So that's what I was imagining is that they've come to the aid at the moment of the what was going to be the one that was going to get taken over, and now it's like equal parties again because of their involvement.
Cool. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I guess a point of order question: would it be useful just to work backwards through the ages right now, or I guess I'm wondering.
We could. I mean, I don't know. Whatever you feel.
I think my thought is maybe let's actually, you know what we should do is for each one we should then also define a legend, a legacy, or a lair. Did I write down what these are? Because it's a cool thing. So in the Book of Ages, there is a section on legends, legacies, and lairs. I think it has them roll for them, but I think it's more interesting because we don't have as many ages and icons just to kind of decide. A legend is defined. I mean, these are kind of loose, but the idea is this is kind of seed important, like sort of open-ended things into the story that could be either places or quest hooks in a way. So a legend is the tales of the age. It could be a saga about a hero that's become like a folktale or custom. Could be something of a cultural impact. Or it could also be things like artifacts that may have been left behind. The example they get is, they tell a tale of a mighty orc bard, Gorak the Shouter, and his enchanted war horn. So like that's, could be something like that. Could be something like an institution. So it's like, these groups like developed like a library system or, a magical college, even though they're, no longer there. In their case of the book here, they said, ever since the giant wars, the dwarf kingdom has been guarded by elite kneecappers as guards. Or there's a university, a city, or fortress sort of thing. That's the legacy option. And a lair is a dungeon, dating to a past age. Could be a lair of a monster. Could be a place that was plagued or cursed by some sort of peril. So I think as we go back, we can kind of add these in. But I think maybe it's probably actually even harder to start with the current one. But let's start maybe with the current age and try to put in a legend, a legacy, or a lair that could be relevant for each of these.
So because the elves are from a different plane, I was thinking that a legend or a legacy would be the most relevant for them. And it's D6, 1 to 2 is a legend, 3 to 4 is a legacy, 5 to 6 is a lair.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I'll just roll a D6 and I'll see what comes up and come up with one from there.
Mm-hmm.
But since they're from a new plane, probably doesn't make sense to do a lair.
Well, they could. I mean, there could be a lair of like this place of like they first crossed over. Maybe there are different sites. So like that could be like a place that is was severely damaged.
I rolled 3 5s and 2 6s, so that's probably what I have to come up with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll let me think about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's called the Epicenter.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of I feel like in a way, to me, it makes more sense to say like where the current age we should. I think what this book is supposed to decide is like, you come up with and you do a lot of generation through it, which kind of could work again if you have enough times and icons. But I think it's not super useful with such this more condensed timeline. That's why I want to do it more like this. But I also think that's because they generate more ages than you can like select the age within the ages you generate to play in. But I think that works better when you have again like defined icons. So like what we're doing, I think this is the thing that makes sense. Yeah, but okay, the Epicenter I think that's a cool thing, or maybe like the first rift.
Yeah, and I've got that as just a place that's brimming with chaotic energy.
Mm-hmm. Wow, magic searches all day.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Joe and Greg.
Do you want us to define if that's? Well, yeah, I'll just put that it's a layer.
Oh yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, okay. The name is really dumb, but I came up with it as an idea, as part of the idea, and I'm kind of stuck on it. It's called The Loudest Whisper. It's the legend of the current, like the current whisperer is like making plays to like be more aggressive in like their war, this like imaginary war that has become real. But
I don't hate that name.
The Loudest Whisper.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
So like the current leader, the current Whisper, is just like becoming is turning the secret society into much less of a secret society, basically.
So if this is a legend you're just talking about, right, of the Loudest Whisper. So I'm wondering what is the legend that maybe is like the foundational legend of this group that's or come to become the core identity, right? So it's like, is it a legend of a false king, or like what I mean? Like I'm trying to.
Well,
So there's legends, layers, and legacies. That's what I'm wondering. Like, I like this idea, but I'm trying to figure out how to make it a little tactile to the group.
I thought the legend would be like, I thought like legend was a person, legacy was a story, and layer was like a place.
It could be.
Am I wrong in that?
Check out page 15 of the Book of Ages book.
Yeah, so I said here, like,
I
legend is
no way to
the
do
people of that faction still tell tales of that age. So it's like, I guess if you're defining a legend from this age, it's like, it's, I guess what's tricky is, like, it would be a legend of something that's happening in this age right now, right? And if it's a legacy, that, like, some sort of, again, an institution or group, like, you could imagine that, like, they... have built a society of I don't know, I'm imagining almost like quack doctors who believe they can, like, you know, they know the ways to tell a changeling or something, right? Like there could be like something, you know what I mean? So a legacy could be
and that makes sense. I don't understand how any of those apply to the current age.
Under
twisting
legacy, under legacy it says, unlike a legend, which is mostly forgotten in the present day, legacies are still active and have continued largely unchanged.
I think to think about it again, like, remember, you know, we're not necessarily at the start of this age, we're in the midst of this age. So it's like, what has come up for them in the last, like, 100 years? You know what I mean? Or, like, 50 years even. It's like, this,
so
like,
that,
they've developed.
This would fit a legacy in the last
Okay.
100.
The loudest, but what is the loudest whisper is what is it?
It's the current leader is like becoming more aggressive in like
yeah,
in,
I guess
in their hunt for
I'm
the
not.
Iridescent, like
I like this idea. I'm not trying to.
shapeshifters.
Yeah, okay. I guess the tricky part to me is like legacy is an institution, group, structure, or enchantment is how it. When it says survives from that age, and I just don't quite. This seems more like an ethos, and I don't quite get. You know, the example that they gave in the book was like, ever since the Giant Wars, the Dwarf Kingdom has been guarded by elite kneecappers. So, like, the closest thing I feel like I can translate this is like, you know,
ever since the current Whisper took power, they've been coming out of the shadows more often. I'm not seeing why.
I just think that that's not a. I guess what I mean in terms of like not a legacy is like it doesn't establish something in the sense of like that's necessarily like I guess what I'm hoping for and what this is trying to suggest is like, you know, in their example, since the Giant Wars, the Dwarf Kingdom has been guarded by elite kneecappers. Kneecappers is like the thing is like, oh, the Dwarf Kingdom guards are called kneecappers. They're an elite force. It's introducing this historical concept that's like comes out of a historical moment, right? It's like this is a tactile thing in the world. Does that make sense what I'm saying? It's like, so for you, it's like you might have like if you guys are being more aggressive, then maybe the thing that's coming out of it is like they have what would the term be? Almost like inquisitions that are like going around trying to find changelings.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's so yeah, okay. So if there's like if the loudest whisper are like there are sort of emboldened inquisitors who are trying to, you know, suss out changelings going around. Like that's a legacy.
The current Whisper is coming out of the shadows with inquisitions and investigations into changelings.
Yeah, cool. That's perfect. Okay, great. That's exactly what
What I needed was, can you give more detail? Because that what I wrote was implied in my head.
Yes. And you know what? It was not implied in what you said out loud.
Yeah, but never mind.
I needed to hear the word inquisitions, and then the wheels started turning.
No, what it sounded like was you were saying that my idea doesn't work instead of I need more information. And when the way
I want to be clear, most of the time I'm asking, I need more information, and the thing is, the loudest whisper was just like it's not giving me a thing, and that's what I was asking for.
Yeah,
it's giving thing.
It's not. It wasn't giving thing. Now it's giving thing.
It's serving a thing.
Yes. Yes. Very cool. All right. Thank you, Greg. Do you have a concept?
Yeah, I have an idea. I'm not sure if this is maybe meant to be. I just want to clarify with you, your how you read this. Is it saying this is the outcome of this age, or because of the third age, this is now
The
what is
current age.
existing
This is the what's emerging in this age.
from this age? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So in that case, I think it would maybe be interesting to have a legend, which is almost like a prophecy that the Hammers will reclaim their nation state. And whether it's created by the Just Mercenary or not, it's like whispers are coming now because they have gained so much power and influence and are important in the world after having been decimated before, that there's this almost prophetic like view among the populace of like, oh, there's a chosen person coming, or there's a chosen time for them to come back onto the world stage, whether or not that's true. So it's almost like hearsay. So something like that, I think could be interesting as like people could even be speaking of there will be an emerging figure within the exiled that will claim power, or like something like that, right? Or like the Just Mercenary has a secret force of hundreds of thousands that nobody has seen, but it exists, right? Like there's something brewing there. So maybe to make it more like tangible or like something that's specific, what that could look like is at the outbreak of the next big conflict, the true let's call it the guiding hammer or something, I don't know, the strongest hammer will make a claim for power, something along those lines. So like it's like a.
Can I make a suggestion of maybe like the hammer fall prophecy, like the idea like the hammer is gonna fall?
Yeah, why not?
It's pretty
think
good.
that's great.
I love a compound word.
And I think what's interesting is that could be true, or it could be just fear mongering because we're talking about there's like political dissidents and people who are spreading fake news and
we are gonna have such
stuff.
a fucking paranoid society we've developed.
Well, it sounds like it. But yeah, so I was thinking maybe the Legend of the Hammerfall would be kind of like what we would categorize it.
Cool. Badass.
Okay. Well, I did correct it. The Just Mercenary is a singular icon.
Well, no, yeah. What are
the faction is the Exiled.
Correct.
Right.
That's what I.
So I guess the question is, will the Just Mercenary reclaim it, or is it the Exiled will reclaim their homelands?
Well, I think the idea is that there is a figurehead that will appear to lead them to that salvation. But some people might think it's the Just Mercenary, but it could have been a rumor.
Prophecies are vague. What if it ends up that the Just Mercenary reclaims their homeland and they're the only one left, bathed in blood?
Welcome to the Twilight Zone.
Cool. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Badass. Okay. Are we okay? I guess quick check. Does everyone need water or anything? Everyone's doing okay? No bio break?
I'm good.
I'm going to need to go to the bathroom, but I can just step away.
Okay. Well, if we're generally okay, why don't we jump to the third age and kind of think so like the age directly preceding where we are now. Let's think about where our factions are. Anthony, you've already put yours in, so if you do want to put,
we're not doing well, Michael.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about these elves. Not doing well. They're in their nadir.
Yes, I imagine that they are locked in a pretty epic conflict with the changelings, which has caused them to A, take some pretty drastic measures to fight them off, and B, this didn't work, we need to find a new home.
Okay. Okay, so they are on the brink because of their war with the changelings.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. I guess I'm wondering if it makes sense to talk. Do you want a moment to think about your Legend, Lair, and Legacy?
Nope, I already did it.
Well, why don't we talk about it then? What is your for this one? What do you think is your Legend Layer legacy?
I rolled a 4, which is the legacy, and the group or institution that has survived from this age, I was calling the Platinum Foundry.
Nice.
And that would be the group of artificers. Probably the group of artificers that was responsible for the transporting of the elves to the new plane, and also might have the shady history of developing the WMDs that are responsible for we need to leave this plane.
Not great.
Not great, but hey, that's Mage Punk.
I feel like what's interesting is that the Fallen Empress has basically introduced the Cold War into a failed Cold War state into
a pre-existing Cold War state.
Yeah, well, maybe not, because they weren't even Cold War. They were just like hot war, but like more like simpler hot war. But they've now had the idea of the concept of nukes and espionage has been dumped into the midst. Very cool. Let's go down the line. Joe, you talking about here?
So I have a layer. Oh well, let me start.
We'll talk first about your age.
So they're also in Nadir, and somehow all of ours are lining up.
That's funny.
They're also in Nadir. This is like the lowest point of the cult. It has, they've kind of lost their mission a little bit. It's mostly like a social club that kind of, they do fundraising so that they can hold more fundraisers. They're not really, under fake names and stuff, but like, they're not, like, they're slowly breaking apart. My idea is that there is a layer that is their original, like, I don't know, hideout. I'm thinking of it's like the catacombs underneath.
The Vault of Whispers.
No, this is not Magic the Gathering.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Joe.
Something like the catacombs, or like a labyrinth somewhere where like the cult used to live and used to operate, but during this point, like, most people have kind of left. Like, there isn't like a reason for them all to go to this this place anymore. So they kind of just seal it up, and maybe there's like a splinter group that then kind of swelled up again into the into the Fourth Age.
This is getting a little ahead, but like, I guess my question is, like, I do love this idea of this catacombs. But my question is, like, is this cult based on something like a real threat? Like, was there like, that's one thing I guess I'm really curious about. I mean, it could be a legend, but that's the thing I'm curious about, is like where this, like, the driving fear is, like, we cannot trust that our leaders are who they say they are, right?
Yeah, I was gonna get to that in like the first and the second age.
Okay, I can hold on to it. I was just curious about if this made sense in the context of like, oh, they needed to meet here, these catacombs, because they could, like, I don't know, they were like using them to actually like inspect the bones or something.
Yeah, I think at some point, like, maybe, I don't know how we want the warring factions, like, when that started, but maybe leading all the way back to that. In my mind, the swords, like, through the first stone to, like, create the warring state.
Wow.
Anthony is shocked, but
wow,
they're the royalty. What do you want me to say?
That's in the social strata version.
What? I thought we weren't doing social strata. I don't know. I was just a suggestion. I don't know.
Well, if they can't,
maybe
if they're separate kingdoms, they would all have royalty, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but I think of the swords as being like they are the wealthy kingdom though.
Cake eaters.
Who can say?
I can say if I want to, but I'm
Yeah.
That's true.
TBD.
Like it's not like so whichever country threw the first stone, like that is where the conspiracy theory came from. Of we had this great thing where these three kingdoms were kind of working together and trading with each other, and rising tide was raising all ships, and then something changed, probably greed, but that's where the
I just had a thought that it'd be like interesting if it was a thing there were like twin or like triplets or something, and like one just fucking replaced another one. You know what I mean? And like this idea that
works too,
like a
yeah.
very believable conspiracy.
Yeah.
But had over ages morphed into like, yeah, he was a fucking lizard man. You know?
Yeah, and like the twin, like the second twin was like way more bloodthirsty, or like yeah, and then I like that a lot.
Like a sudden shift where you're like, this has got to be someone else.
Yeah. Or in real history, there's someone who they think had like a traumatic head wound, and then all of a sudden, like, there's some warmongering person. And I'm not remembering who it was, unfortunately. But like the current thought is he had a head wound that just like changed his whole personality, and that's where it all came from.
Yeah.
But yeah, something like
Watching
that.
too much Ancient Aliens.
No, this was unrelated to Ancient Aliens. I don't remember where this came from though.
Or was it?
Or was it?
Da-na-na.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of people around the world that use some form of the word dragon.
And they built pyramids. What does it mean?
It's a cool show.
Could it mean?
Because
You
it's
can't
super
build
cool.
pyramids anymore because of woke.
Yeah.
Right.
They got rid of
And because of
slavery.
the cost of labor.
We can't build pyramids anymore.
To be fair, the cost of labor would have been prohibitive to them back then too. But alas,
What cost?
they cheated it.
Greg, you ever been to Vegas?
Long time ago.
They built a pyramid there.
They did build a pyramid.
Yeah, they
there.
did.
Have you ever been to?
That was in the 80s. That was the last time.
There's the Bass Pro Shop in Tennessee too.
Yep. Absolutely.
The 7th largest pyramid in the world.
Sorry, you mean my temple?
Cool.
That's my ass. Stop.
So just to drop it for a second, Joe. So you like this idea of like a catacombs,
Yeah.
a sort of sealed up former meeting place,
or
but
like
can you give them a cool name or a library? Okay, I just want to.
The library is like something I was thinking throwing around too.
The Library of Bones.
Sounds great.
But the Bonarium.
That's less great to me.
The Bonarium.
Bone Dome?
The Bonarium is somewhere that Quinn hangs out.
You're right. Bonarium, different.
Uh-oh.
The Calciforum.
What's
It doesn't
what is
have
the
to be a pun.
No, but it could.
no. But what is what do you call the ciphers that you twist to decode?
Cryptex.
Yeah, the cryptex, something like that. Cryptex.
The crypt text.
Crypt
I
text.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anthony's done.
Anthony's not on board.
Well, you don't get a library card, fucko.
I'm the book guy.
Not anymore.
Ah.
Yeah, the Bone Daddy though. Okay, cool. Appreciate it. Joe, any other thoughts, or can we move on to Greg?
You go to Greg.
Okay, Greg, why don't you tell us about how you view the exile?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was also going to say Nadir, but now that we have...
There's a natural flow of Zenith to crossover to Nadir to crossover to...
Yeah, but I'm thinking if we wanted to make it slightly different, I would be okay if we wanted... Because we could move things all back one generation and say the Third Age was the crossover because it's when they started allying and making themselves be tied to other nations, and they currently are actually way more powerful, and the Fourth Age is Zenith, where they're like
Yeah.
They have a lot of money. They have a lot of influence because they're stopping wars essentially from happening because of their influence, and so they could actually be much more of a big deal than I originally considered now. And their nadir could be in the second age, and so the third age would be like their starting of their hiring as political alliances and kind of building their power.
Yeah, I think I could
If
see
we
that,
wanted some
especially
variance, we could shift it.
Yeah, I think that might work because specifically, like, if we are going for sort of a Warring Kingdoms era, like you fundamentally have given us like Ronin, right? Or
Yeah.
like the sort of the samurai for hire for shogunate. Like
Right.
these are a very well trained like military for hire group, and so I think you could put them as Zenith. I think I kind of kept balking at Zenith when I was reading this because I'm like, like Zenith kind of means like they're the dominant group, but it's like it's relative to their own group,
Right.
So it doesn't.
Exactly.
It's like they could be in their own Zenith, even if it doesn't mean they are the deciding like the dominant group. I think that's.
I think that follows.
Sense.
I think that follows with the prophecy, right? The Hammerfall prophecy that like
right.
Someone will come up. So so I'll make Zenith as the fourth age. I'll make this crossover, and I think maybe the crossover here could be so for third age the crossover would be first influences within the. Do we have a name for this region? Like this?
No.
We have no region names. We have no plane name.
I thought you named plane.
I named the old plane.
Got it.
So maybe like in the third age, they had their first influences within the region, helping win a decisive battle, protecting one of the three. And so that puts them on the map. It's like, we thought it was just going to be a couple extra soldiers, but all of a sudden a huge force comes in that are well trained, and it helped like what we thought was going to be a sure victory for one side got held off, and like people saw strategic value in it.
Could be a cool way too. Yeah, it could be within it. Also could have been something like fucking the vampire, the bloodlines of dusk were like attacked, and I mean, it could be something that they drove off. Like an
I think
map too.
Yeah, I think protected one of the groups from a surefire defeat. And I think maybe the effect of this is I have a cool idea for a lair.
Okay.
And a legacy for the first and second age. So I kind of want to maybe do a legend again.
Yeah. Well, this is a cement the legend of like some heroic figure or something like.
Yeah, I think
you have like a 300 style.
Like... Yeah. Something like that could be interesting. What if the legend is? Oh, what if there's a legendary item called the Dawnbringer? Okay. Which is a mythical.
It's in my book.
Is it really?
I think it's. I bet if I Google Dawnbringer, I think a lot of IPs are going to come up. But
fine. Okay. How about instead then? Fucking.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
How about actually, first thing comes up is Dungeons and Dragons. I just want to say it's a sword in Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay. Instead of that, let's call it maybe the.
What are you imagining it? Like, let's think. Like,
I'm thinking there is a mythical hammer.
Okay.
A weapon, a mythical hammer that was used to drive back this force, and it's like that is a. Oh, but
Greg, what if you called it the Forge?
Or what if I guess I'm like mauls are badass hammers. It could be something like a named. You could have a figure, and it's like the Maul of.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Okay, yeah. So why don't we say that
the Maul of America?
Yeah. yeah.
Wow, that makes me mad.
Okay. The Maul of Arctics. A legendary hammer imbued with celestial magic, whose wielder held off a kind of what you're saying about 300, a choke point single-handedly. In the great battle of, let's call it I need a cool battle name.
The Usurped? The Battle of the Usurped?
Of the Weeping
Pass.
Pass. Great.
Oh, I like that.
We love a battle that takes place in a pass.
Neat. Badass. Cool. I like it.
Getting my fucking ideas in now, boys.
Good.
Great. I appreciate those. Let's jump back up to Anthony. Let's move on to the second age.
Yeah.
I will say I've been trying to dot in some things. I think again, right now I'm kind of looking at developing the three kingdoms, the Sky Warden and the Iridescent. I like all these things. I think these all fit pretty well with the stuff you guys have established as sort of foils and context. But I don't have the bandwidth to do all three on the fly, so I'm gonna jot down things when they come to me and figure out the rest later.
Great.
But moving to the second age, okay. So in pre-Nadir, the before the war with the changelings went awry, how the elves doing?
The elves I have in a crossover. They are. This is probably the period where most of the war began, or at least like halfway through this age, war began. So I would say that this is a period of conflict and strife.
Yeah, with the changelings. Do you have an idea for like what started the war with the changelings?
You bet I do. Would you like to hear my legend?
I would like to hear your legend, yeah.
Oh, that should be in the parentheses. Hey. Front of the text box. The legend is the legend of the twin empresses.
Uh-oh. Wait, this sounds familiar.
Yes.
Did you have this idea before I mentioned this a minute ago?
No.
Okay.
It was definitely inspired by, but like I think it'd be fun to have, 2 ages back in a different plane.
That is very cool. They have the same legend across both planes.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Spoilers, mine is the twin emperors.
That's pretty good. Oh boy. Okay. This is very cool how this fits together. But I'm just also like, wow, we have the most fucking. No one will trust anyone in this country.
I think that the elves have developed a surefire way of determining changeling from non, but they probably keep it very close to the chest.
That's where you wear the changeling detector on the chest.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, your idea is that what started the war was this belief of well, actually, this is interesting. So you have the idea of the twin empresses, but you've also established the empress as eternal.
Yes.
But I guess my question is the empress today one of the twin empresses, or?
Yes.
Oh dear. Okay. Damn. But which one?
Hard to say, right?
Hard to say. It's interesting that this is all coming up because my sister's starting a new campaign and was talking a lot about just a lot of similar concepts with like a character design. So it's interesting that this is all coming up. within this as well. Okay. Cool. I love that. So that's the legend. Actually, can you tell me a little bit more? So it's like the doppelgangers like replace the Empress, or yeah, like can you flesh it out a little bit more for me? And is there like
I think that this would be a legend that would have been started by the changelings in an attempt to sow mistrust amongst the Empire. And it was sort of like, that was probably not like the first move in the war, but like one of the inciting incidents.
okay? So they started it to start. I guess okay.
Yes.
The
They
changelings
they started it in an attempt to topple this empire.
Interesting. Okay. One thing with this being a legend, is there a way you can tie it? Also, like, is there some sort of thing that could come out of it, like an artifact or something? Just because that's part of the useful part of a legend.
Yeah,
Just be a hook, some sort
I
of
think that
tangible hook.
the thing that would come out of it is the second scepter. To be an exact replica of the Empress's scepter that nobody knows where it came from.
Okay. Cool. Okay, I like that. Well, very neat. Anything else you want to say on that?
Nope.
Or okay, Joe,
Yes.
how are you feeling? What's the second age look like for
I
the
was
marked ones?
thinking this is the Zenith. So this is when they are their most powerful.
Okay.
Because they have a reason to exist, kind of.
I like that they're both legends, so we don't know how much truth there is in either one of their things that are like formative for them.
Exactly. That's what's cool about it. And this is, they have the reason to exist because one of the emperors, or the emperor, was peaceful and woke up and chose violence one day.
Just one day.
Well, continued on after.
Dictator for day one, if you will.
Yeah. And then so this led to speculation of shapeshifters. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. I'm gonna pose the same question as Anthony, or to you as I did Anthony. Is there something in that, like as a legend, like an artifact or something that you could potentially tie it to? Something tangible in the world.
Oh, sure.
It could be, I mean, like something that's actually. Yeah, I like how Anthony went with like having a twin scepter. It could also be something that like is lost, like the king's sword is just gone, something like that. You know what I mean? Like the.
I was thinking, there's two crowns.
My initial thought was like they found like somebody found a severed finger with like a signet ring on it. If you want to use that.
I like the idea that they're like something that did exist became
Like they changed something overnight, a Mandela effect for everyone, kind of thing.
no
love that.
like there was a second crown that was found somewhere, but the emperor was wearing a crown.
I like it. I just think that's so close to Anthony's is my only thing.
That was why I wanted. Yeah,
I know,
but no,
yeah.
you're right.
I would just love it to be. It feels so on the nose to me
Mm-hmm.
that I want to push a little bit for something, just something else. That's why I like the idea of like, oh, like either like the like the signet ring. The finding a severed finger, like that's interesting. Or could it be like the signet ring changed, like, some detail that was like something was different. You
Is
know what
it
I mean?
too little for it to be like the new king was left-handed?
Oh,
Is
that's
that too,
interesting.
like,
well, how about you say like like an item, like if it was something like they swore the king was right-handed and then it was suddenly was left-handed the next day. It could be something like the right hand of the king is gone, and it's like but it's like a sword or something, or like a weapon. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like
Yeah,
I think
yeah. I like
that'd be cool. Like like the I also like the idea of this called like a sword, the right hand of the king.
I also like that.
Because then it'd be interesting. It's like, oh, like his the sword is gone, and now he's got one on the other. Like, and it could be again, if you had a head injury, could be a thing. It's like, oh, he can only duel with his left now or something.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I also like the idea of there is a sword called the right hand of the king and a
do
sword
like it, too.
called the left hand of the king.
Yeah, and then someone's got to take dual wielding so that they can get both. Actually, what they need is two people need dual wielding, and one can have each of you can have a scepter of the Empress, and then a different sword. And
I'm ready.
Oh boy, and well, someone's got to have the Maul of Arctic. So that sounds like a great weapon, though. So that's a two-hander probably. Sweet, very cool. Can we move on to Greg?
Yeah.
All right, Greg, hit us.
Yep. I think Second Age is the nadir of the Just Mercenary and the Exiled. It is the coup. Is it a coup if it's against another kingdom?
It could be like
I don't know.
Yeah, like your kingdom was disbanded.
Displacement.
Though, right?
With a displacement, yeah.
Yeah.
Of the people of the Hammers by an alliance of the three.
Well, that's interesting. So like the three, there was like 4 warring kingdoms, and 3 of them grouped up to destroy the Hammers, and that also made them never trust each other because if they could all kill the Hammers, yeah, okay, very cool.
The leader is ousted, and the land is divvied up. How you divvy?
Yeah, DV.
VV.
I thought there we go. The people are lost, and then I think the lair is the haunted forge.
Ghost
The
Forge.
the former seat of power city of the Hammers was abandoned, and so that no leader could return to it, a mythical evil beast lurks behind, killing any who come close. So basically, someone or something decided to instill a guardian there so that the Hammers couldn't come back and reclaim their citadel. So there's legends that there is in this lair, there is like a mythical beast there, or like a corruption or something that is there that like will kill you. And so it's a ghost city because it's at the center of this territory that's now been split, and nobody wanted to own a second big city that could be attacked by someone else.
Cool. I like that a lot.
Oh wait, I thought I just wrote all this, but did it get?
It might be doing something. It just did that for me too. I don't know what's happening with this.
Uh-oh. Hold on. If I click back, is it gonna fuck it up? Okay, I'll just rewrite it. Okay, so the lair I said was the haunted
Forge.
Well, maybe haunted's not the right word. The defiled forge. Host to an unspeakable guardian with a U first. That was placed there to return any to deter any return to power in the old city, in the old seat of power. Cool. All right.
Nice.
That's it.
Cool.
Sick.
So seeing what you've had, I filled out a little bit because I think the Three Kingdoms, they would have been iconic then during the Second Age because that's when they would have
Exactly.
defined as
Yeah.
the three. A crossover in the next one with the breaking of sort of those alliances and they started warring internally. Puts them actually probably at a nadir in the Fourth Age because of basically centuries maybe of warring with each other. They're mistrustful, they're weakened, and that's why they would maybe be reliant on
Right.
the just mercenary as well as maybe making these agreements with
Right.
like the Sky Warden and such. So yeah, cool. That's neat how that naturally flowed and informed things, which is really cool. Neat. All right, First Age. So long ago, sort of like longest we have in our recorded history.
Yeah.
Tell me about some elves, Anthony. They seem like they're doing great.
They were doing great, and that is because of the font, which is a legend.
Papyrus.
Times New Roman.
You guys are funny.
Thanks.
The wellspring of magic that the elves found and used to bolster their innovation, their industry, their artifice. But so long ago that we're not sure if it was even a real thing. Also, it's in a plane that's no longer here anymore.
They're escaping their plane. Their plane technically is still there, right?
We're in a plane that we're no longer on.
That plane has left the airport.
Very clever.
Please do not stop in the red zone. The yellow zone is for loading and unloading only.
That's me.
Cool. Sorry, just defining their zenith. It's like the society was good. Like
Yes. This would be an industrial revolution, but without all the pollution.
magic industrial. They could have magical pollution.
You're right.
You breathe in too much of those wizard fumes, and you turn into a duck.
There's magical pollution, but it's pretty. There's fucking glitter everywhere.
Great. Joe, I see you putting in some stuff here. You want to tell us about the nadir of the First Age?
So in the First Age, this was when they were truly a nadir. Like,
They weren't really even fully baked.
Yeah, it's truly
As a
like
group.
actual crackpot conspiracy theorists who just maybe they're unhappy with the how the power structure's going. I'm not really sure exactly what. And I don't know which category this falls into, but I would like them to have had a device or a spell or a book or knowledge or something of how to spot shapeshifters.
So I guess here's a question: you think that does their shapeshifting? I guess what I'm curious about is that so like the twin emperors you put in the Second Age,
Yeah.
and that's like that's their zenith. So, but you're saying like this obsession with shapeshifters was even before then.
Yeah, like they
around.
already existed.
Okay.
When the twin emperors happened. They just didn't really have a reason to.
I think that's one thing I want is like because like I still want to know like what was the thing that would like give it enough traction to be a thing, right? Like if this is because like technically it's like if there's still an icon, I mean they might. That's the thing is what you're describing is like they're very weak. Like is there, but they'd still be like an icon in a faction. That's why I kind of want to feel like what.
In my head, this first through fourth age was the story of them of this group becoming an icon.
Okay.
But I guess if we need a reason.
No. That's okay. Yeah, that's helpful. Right. It just you know what I mean. It's like it makes it. Yeah. Like so at that time, I guess what would be hard is like okay, so they're not really a group at that point, but they are going to have a thing to detect shapeshifters. I'm just trying to put it together a little bit. So
let me spit this. There's a incredibly powerful. I'm gonna say wizard. Could be an artificer. I'm not really. I don't really remember the difference in this one, but he makes a device for spotting shapeshifters.
Okay.
Like he's really good at a bunch of things, but like he gets like focused on this one thing, and
like the true form of something.
Yeah, the true form of something, and because he is
like I just hated druids. Fuck
yeah,
wild shape.
He just like because he's so intent on finding this, like other people kind of gravitate towards this movement. Even though there is no like perceivable threat, maybe he has opened a vision into this other plane and seen shapeshifters or something through some of his technology.
Oh, that's actually that's really wild. If maybe he was observing the other plane, like he was observing Anthony, the elven plane, which made him fear this idea, like literally learning the concept of changelings through observing. Oh man, that's crazy. So I mean that also gives you a lot of things because you could have, I mean, it's a device, but you could also have it be like there could be a lair, like this wizard's like lab fundamentally, which would be maybe,
I like that.
That could be really cool. Where it's like this like formative scholar who was probably viewed as fringe, but he was like, no, I've literally I've seen other planes. They can take other forms. Like they could be among us. We don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, that's fun. I like the idea that a legitimate wizardly scientist who was discounted at the time. I mean, this is kind of like germ theory, right? Like, people were like, "You're crazy. There's a bunch of tiny animals on us all the time. They're like, we're gonna lobotomize you."
Yeah, and like
in this case, wizard.
You're damn right.
Yeah, he's very much like a crackpot. No one's taking him seriously, but like he was right, and he could see, something.
That's cool. Yeah, I really like that, and I like that it actually connects the other plane and more like these are maybe always close enough to be observed potentially by the people who are smart enough to do it. Very cool.
You talking about Dr. Toboggan observing the backyard?
Always.
That's the Lord we should have referenced. Was it Toboggan? No, it was something wild.
No,
it was
Joe knows.
It was Dr.
I think it's Dr. Paragon.
That's it.
Dr. Paragon.
Or Paradox.
Paradigm.
Oh.
Ooh.
Hang on.
Paradigm?
It is
Paradigm.
The backyard.
Dr. Paradigm feels
right.
right.
Derail us.
Guilty Gear, back to Paradigm. Yep. When they got to the gate to the backyard, that man appeared. That's literally the first thing that comes up.
Yeah, it's when that man is born.
That man capitalized. Oh man.
That man is different from the man, who is also a character.
Back to our game. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything.
No, I'm always happy to go down the rabbit hole of Guilty Gear lore because I have a game I have never played and never will.
Yep, same.
It's so
I know
fun.
nothing about.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add to that joke? But I think that's pretty rad.
No, I'm good.
Cool. All right. Greg. what's going on for?
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is that this is the iconic age for what I'm gonna say is the first builder. I like the idea of the change of history of this group being towards a militaristic society because of the circumstances that befell their society, but they started off as like the hammer as a building tool. So construction of great citadels, of public works, of like this flourishing society, and maybe even, which is part of the legacy that I'll talk about, but helping influence and build the other societies around them. So like helping with metallurgy, helping with forging, helping with things for like the other, what would eventually become the swords and the spears and like all that. Which then gives a compelling, like, they were stabbed in the back for like maybe helping them, but like this is their era of like the first builders come together. Their advanced knowledge of metallurgy helps them kind of like get ahead and build these like fantastic society, this fantastic society. That's where like the forge is, and like that's kind of like the launch point. But they originally aren't warmongers. They are builders and developers as a society. And then I think what could be an interesting legacy could be that there is one maybe mythic hammer that is made of a material that all other hammers are forged from. And what I mean by that is that first one was used to create, so let's say it's made of like diamond, right?
Yeah.
That is the most pure, the hardest substance, the most pure, strongest of those hammers. And it could make golden hammers. And then golden hammers, there's maybe 10, 12 of them, and they could make silver hammers. And there's like 100 silver hammers, and that everything down to like the foot soldiers today use iron or whatever. But it's like the rarer the material, the fewer there are that lead up in this genealogy to this one mythical one that was the start of like that society.
Yeah, I like it. You're kind of touching on. I mean, I do like you basically have like rare loot drops fundamentally baked into that, which is very funny to me. But the thing is, it is you had brought this up before, but like kind of like Mandalorian culture as it's kind of portrayed inside of like Beskar, very similar, and I like that where it's like there's this sort of this like a mother metal sort of, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like whether it's alien or extraplanar. Or something like, I love the idea that it's like because of its properties, it needed to be that to create the next tier, and the next tiers are made from the next higher up, and like whatever, and like kind of filters all the way down.
Everything
So,
has flowed from it.
Like if you cross somebody in the Hammer Society, they have a silver hammer. That's a big fucking deal. Like that's that they have one of them, for example. So that's something like that, like a genealogy of the armaments themselves.
I love that. That's really cool.
That's very cool.
It like has to be built from one hammer, and that hammer is like one of those things where I feel like it's always fun in fantasy where it's like, oh yeah, the first hammer which was forged from a meteor or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
Always cool. Sick. I love that. I think we have some really cool shit here. I feel like I get these groups really well, which I really like. And I feel like it's kind of natural to see like how they are, large overlaps and how they're kind of connecting to each other, which is cool to see. I know I have homework now with these other groups, but I really feel like we have some cool things here. I guess maybe the question to you all now is, does it feel like there is something missing or not sitting right? Is like with this kind of setup? Because like I know we need to put more place and name to these things. Some of it needs to get fleshed out with these connections, but I guess a temperature check feels appropriate right now.
I don't know if it's not sitting right, but it feels like it's not serving a purpose. Is I know we really liked the Sky Wardens, the Bloodlines of Dusk. Like, they don't feel super
important or
connected. Relevant.
Not important. Like, don't feel very connected. Like,
yeah, I think that's why I was thinking with, that they could be if, like, things like, especially in the Third Age, if they became a force and, like, invaded and had that forced the hand of, like, using the just to fend them off, like, they could be connected.
yeah, I just
like more than the iridescent, really, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they could if I don't know if we are worried about having too many icons, but that's one where
I
I'm
I was imagining around 7-ish, like 3 for me, 4 or 3 for you guys, 3 to 4 for me. So like that.
okay.
Yeah, and I think it's also okay if they are more if 2 or 3 of them are a little more tertiary or just there to be foils. That's also okay. But
Okay.
yes, I do agree they're probably the most disconnected.
I also don't
I like
want to.
giving Michael. Go ahead.
I also don't want to get rid of the Sky Wardens of the Bloodlines of Dusk.
Oops,
I
sorry.
just don't know if they would be an icon.
Right.
Yeah. I like giving Michael more
Autonomy
tools
there.
to play with.
Absolutely.
Grab.
Yeah.
And
icon status completely up to you, Michael.
I could have very easily built the cult around opposing vampires instead of like there's lots of like they definitely had space to play with.
The fact that
I mean,
you
maybe
didn't
maybe
is what
the
separates
maybe
us, Joe.
it also could be that like. I mean, there could even be a thing that, like, oh yeah, vampires totally get glamour their faces or something. You know what I mean? Like, it could be something that still could be baked in. Or it's
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
I don't never trust a vampire. They they're known for wearing faces, like crazy shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you have people who believe wild stuff, like, and vampires are a wild card generally too. So,
Wild card, bitches.
cool. Well, great. I mean, I feel like this gives me a lot of fun stuff to work with. I am wondering what else we need to do. Maybe because we have like 15 minutes left, it'd be great if you could talk about a little bit like what you're conceptualizing as a character. It does not need to be firm at this point, and we're still gonna need to like bring it in, but like I think that would probably be useful as well. Maybe just again like class. Maybe like a high level, like just 2 to 3 sentences what you're imagining this character to be, and like maybe one goal you can imagine. That would be useful for me at this point.
Yeah, I can start. Do you want me to write this down anywhere, or just kind of loosely just say what I'm thinking?
I'm writing it down. So
Cool. I think I'm going to play a paladin. Because I'm interested. And also because I never played it, but I think it fits the hammer kind of thing well. I would like a character that is. So something I'm thinking about is whether it's baked into the narrative or something that is just physical, like a physical attribute. I'd like there to be something about being an exiled that is recognizable. So when I was creating an idea for a character, I was thinking like, what if this population are like winged, but when they are born as like deference to their history, like they clip one of their 2 wings, so it's like they have like a scar or something like that. Like I don't know, like I was just kind of thinking aloud, but so I was thinking there's some kind of like until we reach our homeland again, like this is like the part of the tradition kind of thing.
this is the way.
Yeah. I think some kind of military, like in this now military, like just mercenary force, this is an exiled who is of particular note for some reason, is a paladin, and we have to build some kind of an oath or like a I guess a god. I guess it would be the icon, but like some kind of tie.
It could be a god still. Yeah, it's funny. I have not really looked at paladins.
And then I would say maybe their ultimate goal is to reclaim the forge at some point for the exiled. Yeah. But I think it'd be cool to play paladin because I've never tried that, and it'd be heavy hitter that also heals.
I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm just checking. I'm like, they have paladins in this. Yeah, there they are. Page 110. Heavily armored, fanatically devoted warriors of the gods or of causes. Causes so pure that they don't require gods to make them holy.
Correct.
So, yeah.
And can be politically twisted.
Oh, they can't use hammers. Sorry.
Fuck!
Sorry.
Cleric it is.
Me. Paladin starts with a melee weapon or 2. You can have 2 hammers.
Oh, man.
Yeah, dog. Yeah, dog. Yeah.
I'm on the
Yeah,
SRD.
You're hitting hammer and you're throwing hammer.
Yep.
Never leave
Exactly.
home without either.
Cool. All right.
Never will.
Great. I love that. I feel like that makes perfect sense with what you have established and would fit great in a world like this. Okay, cool. Yep, I like that. Anthony and Joe, can you give me some high level stuff?
Go ahead, Joe.
I think I would like to try playing a spellcaster. I was gonna do wizard or sorcerer, whichever Anthony didn't pick. I am leaning
Fair.
towards wizard, but I don't really care.
I think I was leaning towards wizard. Well, I've played both, and
You played both, yeah.
I think wizard fits my playstyle a little bit better.
Okay.
What's the difference, really? I'm trying to remember. Because, like,
Wizard fits my playstyle a little bit better.
Wizards cast more spells more often, I think.
Yeah.
they can't apply their spell casting bonus, if I recall it, for, like, damage and stuff. It's like a little... It's like... They're more, I guess, by the book, which makes sense. I don't... Okay.
Yeah, I think when I played sorcerer, I think we were still learning the game, and it didn't jive with me as well.
Sorcerers do damage and I would say sorcerers are more DPS than wizards.
Okay. Joe, are you sure you don't want to play our ranger again?
I am absolutely
What if you took a ranger, but then you sort of
we did something
became a
totally
fighter.
different.
That's fun, right?
No, I thought about playing a barbarian too, but I don't know. I think I could go for a spellcaster.
We could also both be wizards.
Also
That's
true.
true.
But also, I'm kind of reading through sorcerer, and I'm kind of
The very first thing a sorcerer I kind of love, which is sorcerers are self-taught genius freaks with an intuitive mastery of magic and possibly some brain damage.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
I like
especially-
the gathering power thing, and like I think it's cool.
Yeah, and I feel like having a charisma-based character would be really interesting if you're connected to like a fringe cult, more or less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason my character left, is because they weren't allowed to be the cult leader.
Uh,
That's pretty good.
So like, yeah, you're interested. Like again, kind of. What would you find? Kind of, you think is like a goal? Like they're leaving this. I can understand why they'd leave the group, but what are they trying to do?
Yeah, I think they're leaving the group. They.
It's okay if you don't.
You
know
gotta.
yet.
Yeah,
Just-
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay. Totally fine. No worries. Okay, cool. I like it. Sorcerer is a weird word to spell. I think I spell it wrong every time. I think I always want to spell sorcerer, like O-R, but because like sorcery. Sorcery. Well, sorcery
Also,
no.
only has 1 O.
I don't know why I want it to have more. Anyway, Greg, or no,
Soror sounds more official.
sorcerer. Yeah. Anthony, can you tell us about your not sorcerer, or maybe sorcerer?
Maybe a group of female sorcerers. It's a sorority. And that's what you
Ooh,
think-
I
that's
like
what you're
that.
Thinking of.
That's not the joke I'd expect you to make, but I really appreciate it.
Same. Hi everyone, I'm Anthony. I'd like to play an elf wizard.
For
Okay,
anyone who
scene.
hasn't listened before, Anthony loves to play elf wizards.
Almost
in this game.
exclusively.
In this
Is
game,
she going to be
yeah.
a little goth and kind of hot? And a little.
Yeah, I thought I'd try something new.
Okay. Great. Glad to see you branching out.
Tevra was not a goth.
Yes, she was.
Felt like she had kind of like a dark
She's a fascist.
Deborah.
That's just
Goths are anarchists more.
That's
I'd
true.
imagine.
She couldn't have been a goth. She was a fascist.
She was no longer associated with.
That's
them,
I know.
so.
right. So
He was a fascist.
She had already moved to Argentina.
Before it was cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Her goal will be that kind of pertaining to the legend of her people of the font. I think the legend is that every plane has a font, a wellspring of magic, and so her goal would be to find this plane's as yet undiscovered font.
Sounds like I need to develop the mole people too.
It doesn't have. It could be.
But if it fits,
It could be a geyser. It could be a geyser in the sky. We don't know.
I know, but like Greg had already brought up the idea of pools of magic. I just think it's kind of neat. Like, it could fit.
not
All
wrong.
of the stuff. It's all coming together, you guys. All coming together.
Could also just be an outhouse in a satyr's backyard. Who knows?
That's true. I hope not.
Outhouse in a
one thing-
Satyr's Backyard is the name of my folk punk album.
Does your folk punk band watch The Magicians?
I don't know what that is, so no.
Thing I'm referencing.
Oh,
Um,
I thought you pulled it on the air.
So one thing that reminds me, do we still feel good about the idea of mage punk and sort of things that are kind of like a little bit industrial steampunky at times, but like magic is the driving force, not like coal. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that you shared in one
I
of our
did put
groups.
something.
Yeah, you shared the concept of these giant, almost industrial like walkers that they would use to cross the barren desert wastelands.
Yeah,
And
like
that sounds
mini.
sick as hell still.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm like, is this Two Howls Moving Castle? But I'm like, I don't mind if it is. But the idea of these little magical walkers that can cross the wastelands of the tundra, and again too, if you like, they're again, it makes the natural source of there could be pirates on these walkers or horrible things out there you'd have to fight while on a walker, which would be cool. And also imagining like the exiled like having like a armada of walkers like stomping through the wastelands or something just seems badass. So, okay.
Hell yeah.
If we feel good with that. Okay, I have a lot of homework to do. I think, so what I need to do is try to put some stuff together, and I think maybe share my, like, synthesized primer with you guys. I think, I'll need you guys all to kind of, like, weigh in of, like, if it's fitting with the vision, because, like, I, again, want you guys to have agency. I do think, I'll have to probably make some creative choices with this, but I want to be true to like your guys's vision and spirit of what you're trying to do with the factions here. So does that seem like maybe like a good next step is if I take some time, put this together, and then share like this is what I'm looking at and get some feedback, and then maybe next time we play this it'll be time for some session 0 with that as like a reference sheet.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, that's all I got, guys.
Cool. That was fun.
Sick.
All right.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Like and subscribe at Weeknight Wizards. We're on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram primarily for our social handles, and hope we'll see you guys next week probably.
Check out my book that's not coming out soon.
Yes, keep your ears and eyes peeled for this TBD book,
Mystery book.
mystery book. All right,
Mystery
bye everyone.
Book Theater 3000.
Bye.
All right, goodbye.